Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace and I'm the crochet designer, content creator behind Stitchberry, and I am so happy that you are here, and welcome to my summer project plans video. About every quarter I like to go through my yarn stash and maybe purge yarn that I know I will never use, and I like to reorganize it and really just plan for the next season. And I did that, I think, last week or over the weekend. I honestly was not planning on filming a projects video for summer. The last two project plan videos that I have made, I did not follow those like at all, but I know that this summer I will actually be doing these plans. So I thought, you know, this is probably the projects video to film, because I do know that I will most likely actually do these projects and work on these things, because I think they're actually pretty attainable, because I think in the past some of them were not as attainable. It is a lovely day. It is actually really cold. It's like not supposed to get any higher than 60s today, which is slightly ironic considering that I'm filming a summer video. But earlier today I went out and I picked a few lilacs off of my bush. Lilacs are my absolute favorite flower of all time. They just smell so good. They're so pretty. So I had to put some in a jar. The little flowers are falling off, but that's okay. And I also have this candle that I am burning. I don't know if, I think the text was going on opposite on the screen, but this is Beach House Retreat. It smells amazing. So I will try to remember to link this candle down below if it's available. I'm not even sure if they still have it. But with that, let's get right into my project plans. So what I did when I was going through my yarn, and I kind of wish I had filmed it, maybe next time I go through my yarn I'll film it, but I went through and I made a list of everything that I wanted to work on this summer. I don't have many plans to work on designs, as you'll see in this list. I do have one design on the list of things that I want to work on, but I'm not in any rush to get the pattern out. So there's that. But I wrote all of my project plans on this adorable notebook, and as you can see, I love making lists and just hanging them up on my wall. So this one will go up on the wall. I have it on this adorable notepad. I will also link this notepad below. It is my absolute favorite. I think it is so pretty. I just love the bow. Definitely my style. And it is by another small business, which you know I love. So I'm just going to work through the list, show you my yarn and the plans. My focus this summer, because I'm not doing as many designs, is I really want to work on using up my stash and working through the yarn that I have. And you'll see that a lot with a lot of these projects. There are a little bit more, I would call, scrappy projects, and you know, just using up the yarn that I have, because my goal is to have a very minimal stash, which I actually already have a pretty small stash. I can fit most of my yarn into one drawer, which is pretty good. Starting off with the first project, and I'm also not going to go through all these projects in the order that I'll be making them. I'm just kind of going off of my list here and when I wrote them down on here. But the first one is the one and only design that I have on my list, and I'm actually only going to be talking about this one briefly because I actually mentioned it, I think, 2 podcast episodes ago, and then I got distracted with other projects, so I never got around to actually starting this project. A couple years ago, I released the Harbor bag. This is my favorite bag design that I've ever made. It has these leather straps that make it so sturdy and perfect. I can put my laptop in here, I can put notebooks and a whole bunch of things in here, and it doesn't stretch at all. And from this project, I had some yarn left over. I used Lion Brand Rewind tape yarn, in the color Willow. And I have this full skein, and then I have some other partial skeins as well. And I think I would have enough to make a small either crossbody or handbag. I think that it would be really fun to use the same stitch and some of the same construction as this to make a smaller purse, because I feel like this is like the tote bag, and then that one would be like more like a purse. So I don't think that this one would be too complicated to make. I do still want to use some type of leather straps for it just to work along in a theme. I don't want to start this right away. I want to work on the Advent design that I'm working on right now a little bit more, and definitely get that project finished, maybe even work on writing that pattern before I start this project. But I would like to release this pattern at some point this year. It may not be until August or September, but I am totally fine with that. And my next project is actually is socks, and they're obviously different, but they're the same. So I can't remember, I think I also showed these 2 podcast episodes ago, my Downton Abbey yarn that I got from Sorella Yarn. So the blue is Sybil, which is my favorite character in the show. And if you've seen Downton Abbey, you will know that this is the perfect color for her. And the green is Tom. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but if you've seen the show, you know. So it was kind of a no-brainer to get these 2. And I also think I went into all this in my podcast episode, I think 2 podcast episodes ago, but I'm gonna recap again. So I've seen Downton Abbey, the entire series, 3 times, and the 3rd time I was watching it with my mom. It's one of my absolute favorite shows of all time, and I really wanted her to see it, so we watched it together. And when Sorella Yarn brought back her Downton Abbey collection, it was a no-brainer that I knew I had to get some yarn from it, and I settled on these. And I thought it would be so much fun to make some matching but also not matching socks for me and my mom, since we watched the show together. And she loved this blue, so I was kind of thinking, oh, I'll make hers blue dominant, and since I'm a green person, I'll make mine green dominant, and I'll use some of like the other color in each other's socks for an accent color, if that made sense. I don't really know if that made sense or not, but I do want to make my mom's socks first. And I was telling her about the idea, and I was kind of asking her, you know, what do you want? Originally I was thinking of striping these with some white in between just to break up the colors, but then doing blue as the cuff and the toes, and then the rest of it would be striping. And I was kind of asking her that, but I didn't know if she would want stripes like that, and I asked her if she wanted some of the blue in it. She was thinking that she would like the green as the cuff and the toes, and then the blue as the rest of the sock, so it's still the main color. So I think that that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to double check to make sure that that is what she wants, but as soon as I finish my current socks, then I will probably cast these on semi soon. I have another knitting project which I am going to talk about that might cut into my sock knitting time, but I do really want to cast on these socks for my mom this summer, which I do think is pretty realistic. I do try to always have a simple sock project going just for when I need that really mindless project. And this kind of goes into my next project. Once I finish my mom's socks, then I would also like to cast on my Downton Abbey socks as well, and hopefully get both of those pairs done this summer, this year, those are kind of my two next sock projects that I would like to work on. I kind of alluded to the fact that I may not have as much sock knitting time this year or this summer, and the reason is because I have this other knitting project that I want to work on. So let me talk about it. The yarn that I'm using is, of course, Sorella yarn. Are we surprised? No, we are not. And this is from her Autumn in New York collection. So I have so much yarn in this basket, so let me try to pull some out. So she generously sent me yarn from her Autumn in New York collection, which if you've watched the podcast for a long time, you are very familiar with this yarn. And basically the short story is I have cast on multiple different sweaters with this yarn and they just never turn out. I get stuck somewhere up here and I'm like, that's just not gonna fit, and then I got distracted with other projects and I never got around to it. But I was like, I have enough yarn to knit a sweater, which honestly I usually don't have enough yarn to make a sweater unless it's for a design. So I was like, I really want to use this for a sweater, but they just never turned out. So I scrapped, you know, like 4 separate whips. Like even this color is attached to one of the sweaters that I started and clearly did not get very far in. So there's that. But the colors, so I still have the labels. I don't fully remember which one's which. I do know that this dark color is City That Never Sleeps. And these two are very similar. This is more of a gray. This one has a little bit more of warmer tones in it. One is the Met, the other is Soho. I could not tell you which is which. So go back to a video from last fall and I'm sure I'm talking about it. One of the issues that I had with like all of the patterns that I tried to make is I believe they pretty much all called for DK weight yarn and I was knitting with fingering. Actually, no, the first sweater that I made, I think it did call for fingering weight, but I was going to run out of yarn. I got decently far and I just knew I was going to run out. So in the winter I bought like the cream white tonal from Sorella's yarn. They have their seasonal tonals like for winter, spring, summer. So I bought the winter one, which I don't have here with me. It is in its place with my other hand-dyed yarn. So then I knew I'd have enough yarn. So then I started some other sweaters and that were a DK weight sweater, but I was like, oh, I'll just like make a bigger size, but they were just not turning out at all. So I scrapped it. It was like January, February. I needed a break from this yarn and trying to figure out this project. After doing some more searching for patterns, I found the Essential Sweater by Darling J'adore, and it looks really simple and it's a really great raglan, but it was still a DK weight pattern. But I still really wanted to make that pattern. It looked really simple. It was very simplistic, which would be perfect because I would be striping all of the colors. So I went onto Hobie and I bought some of their Diablo, which this is a mohair blend, and this is actually my first time knitting with mohair, which I'm so excited about. So this is a great option if you can't afford like real mohair like myself. This is a blend of acrylic, mohair, and polyamide, which is perfect, and it was pretty cheap. I got it on sale. I think I got like 6. I did not know how much I would need. And also, I probably should have said this at the beginning. I got this in the mail a couple of days ago and I just could not resist. I just had to cast on the sweater right away. So I do actually have some of it started, fold it down. So I have the collar done and I'm ready to start on the yoke, which is super exciting. But did not have plans on starting this project before filming this video, but I also still wanted to include this project in my project plans just because it is going to take up a lot of my time this summer knitting a sweater. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention this, and you might be wondering, why are you knitting a sweater with mohair in the summertime? Well, I want to wear it in the fall and winter, so I need to start it sooner rather than later, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this one will finally turn out. I have a really good feeling about this pattern and this project so far, and so far it's going well, and I'm excited to make more progress on it and watch the podcast so you can hopefully see updates and hopefully see it coming out how I want it to. Hopefully. I am so sorry. I feel like that whole section about the sweater was just so chaotic and all over the place, so if it was, I do apologize. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say, but other than I felt like that was so chaotic. But moving on, when I was organizing my yarn and looking at what I had in my stash, what I like to do is all of the yarns that I know I'm going to use relatively soon, I like to put in other baskets, like project baskets or bags, or move them to the front of the drawer just so it's easily accessible. I see it, so I'm reminded that I need to work with it. And in this basket, I have my cotton yarn. I pulled out all of the cotton yarn that I had in my stash, which isn't that much, but it is a decent amount. It's a full skein and then 2 partial skeins. This is Dishy by We Crochet or Knit Picks, and this is in the color Linen. I absolutely love this color, and I know that this is also Dishy. I think this one is Swan, and I don't really know what these are. I think these might be Dishy in like a gray color. I don't really know. It kind of feels like Dishy, but I want to use up this yarn, and my plan is to just make washcloths with them and use up as much as I can of this yarn, and I might put away the washcloths in a drawer. I do use my handmade washcloths every single day, and so I might put them away until some of my other ones start to get a little rusty crusty, and then I'll pull out some fresh ones. They do hold up really well, but just, you know, over time, wear and tear, and it's nice to throw in some fresh washcloths into the mix every now and then. In an effort to use up what's in my stash, I'm like, you know what, let's just use up the cotton yarn, and this is a perfect summer project. They're quick, they're easy. I don't know what pattern I'm going to use. I'm probably just going to go back to some of my patterns that I have. I do have quite a bit on my blog, and I'll link some down below, and so I'll probably pick a couple of those and just work through those, and that's the next plan, to use up the cotton yarn. Again, I'm probably going to start working on these once I finish my Advent design is when I'm going to start picking these up. Not anything too crazy, just wanting to use up my cotton yarn. Okay, and my next project is technically also a current whip, and it will also not get finished this summer, but I do want to get caught up on it, if you will. So I wanted to put it on the list of things to do this summer, because if I write it down and put it on a list, I am more likely to do it. So that is my granny stripe scrappy blankets. I have a fingering weight one, and I have like a DK / worsted weight. I kind of put both in here. This one is much smaller. It's almost like a baby blanket size, but, and then this one, it's a little bit bigger. Also more of like an Afghan lapghan size blanket, but it'll still be really nice. So when I was going through all of my yarn, I came across some scraps that I wanted to put into both of these. And like with the cotton yarn, putting the cotton yarn in a separate basket just so it's there, I see it, and I know to work on it. I did the same thing with my scraps. I put it in my adorable goose basket. So cute. And I really don't have that much, so this really won't take that long. I think I could add all of these in probably in a weekend. But for my fingering weight blanket, I have this pink yarn that I wanted to add in, and I have this. I think I will probably only have enough to put like one row of this in, but that's okay. And for my worsted / DK weight, I have this Brava worsted green. I really love this color. It's such a fun color that I want to put in. I used this for a granny square blanket, I think from 2 years ago, and I really have just been using this yarn for tutorials. If you go to my YouTube page, you will see so much of this yarn on there. But I'm kind of just ready to be done with this yarn and to just add it into the blanket and officially be done with it and use it up. And the other yarn that I'm going to add into the worsted weight blanket is this yarn. This is Swish DK, and this is yarn that I dyed using avocados. I did these at 2 separate times, so they have 2 slight different tints to them, and I don't want to add them in back to back, so I'll probably add one in, add the green in, and then maybe add in the other one. Yeah, I really wanted to kind of get caught up on those this summer. Again, I don't think it'll take that long, so it's pretty attainable to do that, which is really exciting and really great, and it will feel so good to finally use up some of this yarn that's been sitting in my stash, like the Brava worsted and this yarn. And my last whip project plan, which I really don't have a clear plan for, but I wanted to talk about it, is my scraps in my snail basket from my Advent design. And I feel like I've been mentioning my Advent design so much. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will put a picture of it in here. I'm not going to talk any details about it, but just so you can see it, I'm using 24 minis for it, and I have these little bits left of each color from it. And as I've been finishing a color, I've just been putting it in this basket. And obviously, like, just looking at, you know, one little scrap, it's not that much, but when you think about I have 24 of these, I have so much of this yarn left, and I want to do something with it. Like, this is quite a bit of yarn that would be great for some type of scrap project. I just don't know what I want to do with it yet. I was thinking about making some sort of, sorry, I'm pulling off all the hairs. I was thinking of making maybe some sort of magic knot ball with this, and kind of working it through like a gradient. So starting with all the purples and really just working through all the gradients so it kind of like fades like the whole ball. And I was thinking about possibly making some sort of like granny square garland with all the scraps. It'd be really scrappy, really bright, and really random, but I think that that'd be really fun. And I think that'd be fun to like put up here. I need to do something right here. But yeah, I don't know. I just like want to use up these scraps because they're so fun. I think this will probably be like a late summer project, just because I don't know. I don't know what I want to do, but I do want to use them up. But also it kind of makes me like happy just like seeing them in the little basket. Like, they just fit so perfectly in here. So I don't know, I wanted to mention it just because I thought it was a really fun thing to use up all of these little scraps. So there's that. And I think that that is all of my project plans for this summer. It doesn't really feel like that significant or that much, but again, we're being realistic this year with knitting a sweater and, you know, working through all of my yarn. It's a lot of little projects, but I'm so excited about these. Like, I'm so excited to be using up yarn in my stash and to really just decrease that. And I think it's going to be a really great summer of knitting and crocheting, and I'm so excited to, you know, see all of these projects, especially like this one. I think will be really fun. So thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what your project plans are down below. I would love to know. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see any updates on any of these projects, I know that I will be sharing them in my podcast as well as on my Instagram at Stitchberry blog. So follow me on there if you would like to see that progress. And I hope you all have a lovely day.